The massive space station hung in the darkness like a jewel made of metal and glass. It was bigger than most moons, spinning slowly around the planet Kepler 442b. Inside its walls, creatures from across the galaxy gathered in the Great Council chamber. The room was enormous, with seats arranged in circles that rose up toward a domed ceiling filled with stars. Admiral Kate Morrison sat in the human section, her blue uniform crisp and clean. She was a tall woman with gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her hands rested calmly on the table in front of her, but her eyes watched everything. She had been a soldier for 30 years before becoming a diplomat. She knew how to read a room, and right now, this room was full of suspicion. The council chamber buzzed with strange sounds, clicks and whistles from the insect-like zephyrins, mixed with the deep rumbles of the rock-skinned granite lords. The air smelled of different worlds and different life forms, all breathing the same recycled atmosphere. At the center of the chamber stood Zixthara, the speaker for the Vorthon Republic. He was 7 feet tall and covered in dark green scales that caught the light. His yellow eyes swept across the assembly as he spoke in his hissing voice. "Fellow council members," Zixthara began, his forked tongue flicking out between words. "We gather today to discuss a most unusual problem. The humans." Kate felt every eye in the chamber turn toward the human section. Commander Jake Sullivan, sitting beside her, shifted slightly in his seat. He was younger than Kate, with brown hair and scars on his hands from old battles. He had been quiet during the entire trip to the station, but Kate knew he was listening to everything. "For 50 years, Zixthara continued, we have watched this species spread across the stars. They have built colonies on 17 worlds. They have established trade routes through 6 sectors. They have developed weapons that could crack planets. And yet..." He paused, letting his words hang in the air. "They have fought only 5 small conflicts in 5 decades. A low murmur ran through the chamber. The granite lords made grinding sounds that passed for laughter among their kind. The zephyrins clicked their mandibles in what Kate recognized as confusion. Yelnoth, the representative of the insectoid collective, rose from his seat. He was thin as a stick but nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the chamber's lights. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind through dry leaves. "This is not natural behavior," Yelnoth declared. "Every species that reaches the stars brings war with them. It is the way of things. My people fought 17 major conflicts in our first century of space travel. The Vorthons fought 23. Even the peaceful Etherians fought 12 wars before they learned to control their aggression." Kate wanted to speak, but she held her tongue. The humans had been invited to observe, not to participate in this particular discussion. She watched, as more representatives stood to share their opinions. "Perhaps they are weak," suggested Ambassador Krex from the Stellar Confederation. He was a blue-skinned humanoid with 6 fingers on each hand. "Their military responses have been minimal. When raiders attacked their mining station at Wolf 359, they simply evacuated and waited for the pirates to leave. Or perhaps they are cowards," added General Vex from the warrior clans. He was built like a bear but walked upright, with thick fur and claws that could cut through steel. "They have never claimed territory through conquest. They ask permission to settle on empty worlds. They trade fairly even when they could take what they want by force." Commander Sullivan leaned close to Kate and whispered, "Should we tell them about the Martian Rebellion, or the Venus mining wars, or what happened when the Separatists tried to take Europa?" Kate shook her head slightly. "Those were human conflicts, fought before they reached the stars. The galaxy didn't need to know about humanity's bloody history just yet." Zixthara raised one clawed hand for silence. "There are only 2 possibilities," he announced. "Either the humans are the weakest species to ever achieve interstellar travel, or they are the most dangerous. A species that appears peaceful while possessing planet-killing weapons is either too frightened to use them, or too clever to show their true strength." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives argued that humans were clearly no threat. Others insisted that any species capable of building antimatter weapons had to be watched carefully. A few suggested that humans might be planning something terrible while pretending to be harmless. Kate listened to them debate her species, like they were discussing the weather. They talked about human psychology, human history, and human intentions. They quoted studies and reports and intelligence briefings. They analyzed everything humans had done since making first contact 50 years ago. None of them asked her what, she thought. The evidence is clear, Zixithera declared after an hour of debate. Humans are an anomaly. They do not behave like any other species we have encountered. They must be studied more carefully. Elder Mexthal, the oldest member of the council, spoke for the first time. He was ancient even by the standards of his long-lived species, with skin like weathered stone and eyes that had seen 1,000 years of galactic politics. In my centuries of service, the elder said slowly, I have learned that species which seem too peaceful are often the most dangerous when finally provoked. The Serenity Empire appeared harmless for 300 years before they conquered. Half the galaxy in a single decade. What do you suggest? Asked Zixithera. Observation, replied the elder. Send fleets to watch their colonies. Study their behavior. Learn their true nature before it is too late to respond appropriately. Kate felt her jaw tighten. Jake's hand moved slightly toward his sidearm, though he kept his expression neutral. They were talking about spying on human worlds, treating humanity like a potential enemy. The vote was swift and unanimous. Observation fleets would be dispatched to monitor human colonies. The official reason would be mutual security and cultural exchange. The real reason was fear and suspicion. Raising. The council session ended. Representatives began filing out of the chamber. Many stopped to stare at the human section, whispering among themselves. Kate and Jake remained seated until the chamber was nearly empty. Admiral Morrison, came a voice behind them. They turned to see Zixithara approaching, his claws clicking on the metal floor. I hope you understand that this is not personal. We must protect the stability of the galaxy. Kate stood and looked the reptilian alien in the eye. I understand perfectly, Speaker Zixithara. You're afraid of what you don't understand. Are we right to be afraid? He asked directly. Kate smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That depends entirely on your intentions toward human colonies and human citizens. Zixithara studied her face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. I see. Thank you for your honesty, Admiral. As the Vorthan speaker walked away, Jake stood beside Kate. Think they'll figure it out? He asked quietly. Kate watched the last of the alien representatives leave the chamber. Eventually. The question is whether they'll figure it out the easy way or the hard way. And if they choose the hard way? Kate's expression grew serious. Then they'll learn why humans rarely engage in war. It's not because we can't fight, Jake. It's because we're very, very good at it. The two humans left the empty council chamber and headed back to their ship. Behind them, the great space station continued its slow rotation, carrying the seeds of a misunderstanding that would soon test the galaxy's assumptions about peace, war, and the species that had quietly become its guardians. 3 weeks after the council meeting, a fleet of alien ships dropped out of hyperspace near New Colorado. The human colony sat on a green world at the edge of known space, far from the major trade routes. From orbit, it looked peaceful and undefended. Rolling hills covered in golden wheat stretched to the horizon. Small towns dotted the landscape like scattered coins. Captain Krexmol stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the readings on his screens. He was a Vorthan like Speaker Zixithara, but younger and more eager to prove himself. His green scales were darker than most of his kind, and his yellow eyes burned with ambition. Initial scans complete, Captain, reported his weapons officer. The colony has minimal defensive installations, a few planetary shields around the main settlements, some orbital platforms that appear to be for asteroid deflection. Nothing that could stop a serious attack. Krexmol nodded, satisfied. This would be easy. The humans would either surrender information willingly or reveal their true nature when threatened. Either way, he would return to the council with useful intelligence. Captain, called his communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. Put it through, Krexmol ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a human woman in her 40s with short brown hair and kind eyes. She wore simple civilian clothes and was smiling warmly. "Welcome to New Colorado," the woman said. "I'm Governor Lisa Park. We don't get many visitors out here, but you're certainly welcome. Would you like to come down for dinner? We're having a harvest festival tonight, and there's plenty of food for everyone." Crexmole stared at the screen in confusion. This was not the response he had expected. Where were the demands to know their intentions? Where were the threats and defensive posturing? "Governor Park," he said carefully, "I am Captain Crexmole of the Vorthon Republic. We are here on official business for the Galactic Council." "How wonderful," Lisa replied, her smile growing brighter. "We rarely get official visitors. Please bring your crew down. We have a cultural center that can accommodate different atmospheric needs, and our medical staff can help with any biological adjustments you might need." The captain looked around his bridge. His officers were as confused as he was. In 50 years of military service, Crexmole had never been invited to dinner by a colony he was supposed to be intimidating. "We will send a small delegation," he said finally. "Perfect. I'll have Captain Bell meet you at the landing site. He can show you around while I prepare for tonight's celebration." The transmission ended, leaving Crexmole staring at a blank screen. His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Vexital, approached. "Sir, this could be a trap," Vexital warned. "They might be trying to lure us down to capture us." Crexmole considered this. "Prepare a full battle group for immediate deployment if needed, but we'll play along with their game. Take 20 soldiers and full weapons. We're going to see what these humans are really planning." 2 hours later, Crexmole and his team materialized in the center of New Colorado's main settlement. The teleportation platform was surrounded by humans, but none of them were armed. Instead, they were holding flowers and small gifts. A tall human man with gray hair and weathered skin stepped forward. He wore civilian clothes, but Crexmole could see the way he moved. This was a soldier, even if he wasn't dressed like one. "Captain Crexmole, I'm Captain Ryan Bell, Defense Coordinator for New Colorado. Welcome to our world." Crexmole studied the human carefully. "Defense Coordinator? Where are your weapons? Your soldiers?" Ryan smiled. "We don't need weapons to greet friends. Come on, let me show you around. Are you hungry? Our cooks have been working all day preparing for the festival." As they walked through the settlement, Crexmole couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The humans were too relaxed, too friendly. Children ran up to look at the alien visitors with curious eyes instead of fear. Adults waved and smiled as they passed. "This is our agricultural center," Ryan explained, pointing to a large building. "We grow enough food here to feed 3 worlds. The soil on New Colorado is incredibly fertile." "And your defenses?" Crexmole asked bluntly. "Oh, those." Ryan shrugged. "We have some shields to protect against solar flares and asteroid impacts. A few automated systems to keep the local wildlife from eating our crops. Nothing fancy." They passed a group of human children playing in a park. One of them, a girl with blonde hair, ran up to Crexmole and offered him a flower. "Pretty lizard man," she said with a gap-toothed smile. Crexmole stared down at the child, completely at a loss. In his culture, children were taught to fear strangers, especially alien ones. This little human showed no fear at all. "Thank you," he said awkwardly, taking the flower. The girl giggled and ran back to her friends. "She likes you," Ryan observed. "Kids are good judges of character." They continued the tour, visiting the medical center, the schools, and the manufacturing facilities. At each stop, humans greeted them with genuine curiosity and kindness. Dr. Helen Torres, the colony's chief medical officer, even offered to examine the Vorthon soldiers to make sure they were adapting well to the planet's atmosphere. "We've never had Vorthon visitors before," Dr. Torres explained as she ran her medical scanner over one of Crexmole's officers. "Your respiratory system is fascinating. Do you have trouble with oxygen-rich environments?" "Sometimes," the officer admitted. "I might be able to help with that. We've developed some treatments that could improve your comfort levels. Would you like me to prepare some for your crew?" Crexmole watched this exchange with growing frustration. These humans were either the most naive beings in the galaxy, or they were playing a very sophisticated game. He decided to test them directly. "Captain Bell," he said as they walked toward the edge of the settlement, "you realize that your colony is completely defenseless? A single battle cruiser could destroy everything you've built here." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right. We're not really built for fighting. If someone wanted to attack us, we'd most likely evacuate to the mountain caves and wait for help." "Help from where?" "Other human colonies, the Earth fleet, whoever could get here first. We have good communications equipment." Krexmol stopped, walking. "You would just abandon everything you've built?" "Buildings can be rebuilt," Ryan said simply. "People can't be replaced. Besides, what would be the point of fighting a hopeless battle? Better to save lives and start over somewhere else." This response disturbed Krexmol more than any threat could have. Either these humans were cowards, or they were so confident in their ultimate security that they could afford to appear weak. "Come on," Ryan continued. "Let's head back to town. The festival is starting soon, and you haven't tried Lisa's cooking yet. She makes the best apple pie on 3 worlds." That evening, Krexmol found himself sitting at a long table surrounded by humans and his own officers. The harvest festival was in full swing around them. Music played, children danced, and adults shared stories and laughter. Governor Park sat across from him, serving generous portions of food and asking questions about Vorthon culture. She seemed genuinely interested in his answers, taking notes, and asking follow-up questions. "So your people lay eggs?" she asked. "How fascinating. Do you have family units like we do, or is child rearing handled by the community?" "Both," Krexmol found himself explaining. "The eggs are laid by mated pairs, but the entire clan helps raise the young." "That sounds wonderful. Community support is so important for children." Dr. Torres joined the conversation, asking about Vorthan medicine and offering to share human medical techniques. Soon several of Krexmol's officers were deep in discussion with human farmers about soil composition and crop rotation. As the evening wore on, Krexmol realized that his mission was failing completely. He was supposed to be gathering intelligence about human weaknesses and defensive capabilities. Instead, he was learning about their culture, their values, and their genuine desire for peaceful coexistence. When the festival ended, Governor Park walked him back to his ship's shuttle. "Thank you for coming, Captain," she said warmly. "It means a lot to us to have visitors. Please take some of our produce back to your crew, and if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." She handed him a basket filled with fruits and vegetables from the colony's farms. "Governor Park," Krexmol said carefully, "do you understand why we're really here?" Lisa smiled. "You're here because your people are afraid of us. They don't understand why we haven't been more aggressive in our expansion. They think we're either too weak to be a threat or too dangerous to be trusted." Krexmol was stunned by her directness. "And what do you think we should tell them?" "Tell them the truth," Lisa replied. "We're not weak, and we're not planning to conquer anyone. We're just trying to build good lives for our families and be helpful neighbors to anyone who wants to be friends. And if someone threatens you?" Lisa's expression grew serious for the first time all day. "Then we'll do whatever we have to do to protect the people we love. But we'd rather not have to." As his shuttle lifted off from New Colorado, Krexmol stared down at the peaceful colony below. He had come expecting to find either weakness or hidden strength. Instead, he had found something much more dangerous, humans who were exactly what they appeared to be. 6 months after the New Colorado visit, the Galactic Council grew tired of waiting for answers. Speaker Zix Thera stood before the assembled representatives, his yellow eyes gleaming with frustration. "The observation missions have told us nothing useful," he announced to the council chamber. "The humans continue to behave in ways that make no sense. They share technology freely, offer medical aid to anyone who asks, and show no signs of military buildup." Elder Mexthel leaned forward in his ancient chair. "Perhaps it is time for a more direct test. We need to see how they respond under pressure." "What do you suggest?" asked Yelnoth, his compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. "A stage crisis," the elder replied. "Nothing too serious, but enough to reveal their true nature. If they are weak, They will surrender immediately. If they are dangerous, they will show their hidden strength. The plan was simple. A group of pirates would threaten one of the human research stations and demand tribute. The pirates would actually be Galactic Council operatives following a careful script. The humans' response would tell the Council everything they needed to know. The target was chosen quickly: Europa Station, orbiting Jupiter's ice-covered moon. The station appeared to be a simple research facility studying the ocean beneath Europa's frozen surface. It was far from Earth and had minimal apparent defenses. Commander Alex Chen stood in the observation deck of Europa Station, watching Jupiter's great red spot swirl in the distance. He was a quiet man in his 50s with black hair going gray at the temples. He had been running the station for 3 years, and it was the best job he'd ever had. "Commander," called Lieutenant Beth Foster from the communication station, "we have multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown configuration." Alex turned to look at the tactical display. 5 ships had appeared near the station, moving in an aggressive formation. Beth was studying her screens with professional calm. She was young for a security chief, but Alex had seen her service record. She had been Special Forces before requesting transfer to research duty. "Are they responding to our hails?" Alex asked. "Negative, sir. They're just sitting there." Dr. Sam Mitchell looked up from his research console. He was a marine biologist who had spent the last 2 years studying the strange life forms in Europa's deep ocean. Could they be explorers? Maybe they're just curious about what we're doing here. Before Alex could answer, the communications board lit up with an incoming message. The main screen flickered to life, showing a scarred alien face, with green skin and multiple eyes. "Human station," the alien growled. "I am Captain Nixavara of the Crimson Fleet. You are now under our protection. You will immediately transfer all food, medical supplies, and valuable research to our ships." Alex studied the alien's face on the screen. Something about the creature's expression seemed forced, like an actor playing a role. "Captain Nixavara, I'm Commander Chen. May I ask what you need these supplies for? Perhaps we can work something out." The alien captain seemed surprised by the question. "Work something out? We are pirates, human. We take what we want." "I understand that," Alex replied patiently. "But you must need these things for a reason. Are your people sick? Hungry? Maybe we can help in a way that benefits everyone." Beth looked at her commander with barely concealed amazement. Dr. Mitchell was openly staring. Even the alien captain appeared confused by the response. You want to help us?" Nixavara asked. "If we can," Alex said. "Dr. Mitchell, could you prepare some of our emergency food supplies? And Beth, check our medical inventory. See what we can spare." "Sir," Beth said quietly, "they're threatening us. Shouldn't we at least raise shields?" "Not yet," Alex replied. "Let's see what they really want first." The alien captain's confusion was obvious now. "Human Chen, you do not understand. We are demanding tribute. You are supposed to be afraid. I'm sorry if we're not reacting the way you expected," Alex said. "But threatening people isn't really an effective way to get help. Why don't you tell us what you actually need?" For several minutes, the alien captain said nothing. Finally, he seemed to remember his script. "We demand that you abandon this station immediately. Leave everything behind and evacuate in your escape pods." Alex's expression grew more serious. "Captain, if you really need us to leave, we can discuss that. But Europa Station has taken 3 years to build, and we're doing important research here. Could you give us a few days to pack up our most valuable work?" "You have 2 hours," Nixavara declared, trying to sound threatening. "That's not really enough time," Alex replied reasonably. "How about 24 hours? We can have everything important packed by then, and we'll throw in those supplies I mentioned." The alien captain looked completely lost. He glanced off screen, apparently seeking guidance from someone else. Dr. Mitchell approached Alex quietly. "Commander, I've been running scans on those ships. Their weapon signatures are unusual. They match some of the energy readings we've detected from Galactic Council vessels." Alex nodded slightly. He had suspected as much from the beginning. "Beth, quietly bring our defensive systems online, but don't activate them yet. and run a deep scan on those ships. I want to know exactly who we're dealing with." Lieutenant Foster's fingers flew over her control panel. "Sir, you're going to want to see this. Those ships are definitely Council technology, and they're broadcasting on encrypted Council frequencies." "Interesting," Alex murmured. He turned back to the screen where Captain Nixavara was still waiting for a response. "Captain, I have a question. Why would the Galactic Council send operatives to test us instead of just asking what they want to know?" The alien's eyes widened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you don't," Alex said with a slight smile. "Beth, open a channel on all frequencies. Include the Council's emergency communication band." "Channel open, sir." Alex looked directly into the camera. "This is Commander Chen of Europa Station. We're aware that this is a test arranged by the Galactic Council. We appreciate your concern for galactic security, but we would have been happy to answer your questions directly. There was no need for deception." The alien captain's face went pale. How did you know?" "Your ships gave you away," Alex explained. "Also, real pirates don't usually ask permission to be threatening, they just threaten." On the tactical display, Beth could see the 5 ships moving into a more aggressive formation. "Sir, they're powering weapons." "Are they now?" Alex's voice remained calm. "Beth, activate all defensive systems. Let's show them what Europa Station is really capable of." The research station transformed. Hidden weapon ports opened along its hull. Shield generators that had been disguised as communications arrays began glowing with energy. The station's modular sections rearranged themselves into a more defensive configuration. "Sir," Beth reported, "all systems online. Weapons charged and ready." Dr. Mitchell stared at the tactical display in amazement. "This whole time we've been living on a battleship?" "Not a battleship," Alex corrected. "A fortress. Every human research station is designed to defend itself if necessary. We just prefer not to advertise the fact." On the screen, Captain Nixavara was frantically talking to someone off camera. Finally, he turned back to face Alex. "Human Chen, we did not expect this level of defensive capability." "Most people don't," Alex replied. "But we're not going to use it unless we have to. You came here to test us, so let me give you something to report back to the Council." He paused, making sure he had everyone's attention. "Humans don't avoid conflict because we're weak or peaceful by nature. We avoid conflict because we're very good at it, and we know exactly what it costs. Every human colony, every research station, every trade ship is built with the assumption that someday someone might force us to fight." Alex gestured to the tactical display showing Europa Station's impressive defenses. "We've been preparing for war since the day we reached the stars. Not because we want to fight, but because we want to make sure that if fighting becomes necessary, we can end it quickly and decisively." Captain Nixavara swallowed hard. "And if we had been real pirates?" "Then you would have discovered why pirates don't usually attack human installations twice," Alex replied simply. The test ships began moving away from Europa Station. Captain Nixavara appeared on screen one final time. "Commander Chen, the Galactic Council will want to discuss this with you directly." "We'll be happy to talk," Alex said. "But next time, just ask. We're not hiding anything from our neighbors. We just don't see the point in bragging about our weapons when we'd rather talk about our achievements in medicine, science, and agriculture." As the Council ships disappeared into hyperspace, Dr. Mitchell turned to Alex. "So how long have you known this station was armed?" "Since the day I took command," Alex replied. "Every human in space knows the truth about our installations. We just don't talk about it unless someone forces us to." Beth was studying the weapon systems that were now visible on her displays. "Sir, these defenses are incredible. We could take on a whole fleet." "Yes," Alex agreed, "and hopefully we'll never have to." He walked back to the observation deck and stared out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. Soon the Galactic Council would understand what they had really been observing for the past 50 years. The question was whether they would be relieved or terrified by the truth. 1 week after the Europa Station incident, the Galactic Council chamber was more crowded than it had been in decades. Representatives from every member species had come to hear humanity's explanation. The air hummed with nervous energy and whispered, conversations in dozens of languages. Admiral Kate Morrison stood at the center of the chamber, her hands clasped behind her back. She wore her full dress uniform with its rows of medals and ribbons. Beside her stood General Peter Hayes, appearing as a hologram from Earth. His image flickered slightly, but his presence filled the room. Speaker Zixathera called for silence. His scaled face showed embarrassment and worry in equal measure. Admiral Morrison, the Council has requested that you explain your species' true military capabilities and intentions. Kate looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from across the galaxy. Some looked frightened, others seemed angry. A few appeared curious. Honored representatives, Kate began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. You asked us here because you don't understand why humans rarely fight wars. The answer is simple. We don't fight wars because we remember what they cost. She gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the chamber floor. It showed images of Earth's history, battles fought with primitive weapons, cities burning, armies clashing across muddy fields. My species has been fighting wars for thousands of years, Kate continued. We've fought with sticks and stones, with swords and shields, with guns and explosives. Each time our weapons became more powerful, our wars became more terrible. The display shifted to show more recent conflicts, explosions that could be seen from space, weapons that could kill millions in minutes, radiation that made entire regions uninhabitable for generations. Elder Mexthal leaned forward in his chair. These weapons could destroy your entire world. They did, General Hayes said quietly. His hologram stepped forward. Not completely, but close enough. By the time we developed space travel, we had nearly destroyed our home planet twice. We learned the hard way that being good at war is not something to be proud of. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many of their species had similar histories, but none had come so close to total destruction. But you still build weapons, accused Yelnoth, his compound eyes glittering. Your research stations are armed fortresses. Your colonies have hidden defenses. You are preparing for war even as you speak of peace. Kate nodded. Yes, we are. But not for the reasons you think. She gestured again, and the holographic display changed to show human colonies and space stations. But now the hidden weapons and defenses were visible, highlighted in red. We learned something important from our history, Kate explained. The best way to avoid war is to be completely prepared for it. When potential enemies know that attacking you will cost them everything, they usually choose not to attack. Ambassador. Carol Wright stepped forward from the human delegation. She was an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, but her voice carried the weight of authority. Every human child learns about the Great Wars, Carol said. They learn about the cities that were destroyed, the millions who died, the years it took to rebuild. We teach them not because we're proud of our past, but because we never want to repeat it. So you prepare for war to prevent war? Asked Krexmol, who had been invited to share his observations from New Colorado. Exactly, General Hayes replied. Human military doctrine is based on one simple principle. Make war so costly for aggressors that they choose peace instead. The holographic display shifted again, showing detailed schematics of human military technology. The alien representatives gasped as they saw the true scope of human capabilities. Every human colony ship carries the ability to build weapons, Kate explained. Every research station can defend itself. Every trade vessel can be converted to a warship within hours. We don't do this because we want to fight. We do it because we want to make sure that anyone thinking about fighting us will reconsider. Speaker Zixthera studied the display with growing alarm. This level of militarization suggests aggression, not defense. Does it? Kate asked. In 50 years of space exploration, how many worlds have humans conquered? None, Zixthera admitted. How many wars have we started? None that we know of. How many times have we used our weapons to threaten or intimidate other species? The Yao? Reptilian speaker was quiet for a long moment. Only when directly threatened yourselves. Kate smiled grimly. That's because our weapons aren't for conquest, they're for protection. We learned long ago that the warrior who seeks war will eventually find it, and when he does, he'll discover that war is nothing like he imagined. Elder Mexthul spoke for the first time since the session began. In my 1,000 years, I have seen many species reach the stars. Most use their newfound power to expand through conquest. Some use it to build trade empires. A few use it to explore and learn. But I have never seen a species use their power to actively avoid conflict while remaining fully prepared for it. It's not natural behavior, added General Vex from the warrior. Clans. Strong species fight, weak species hide. You humans do neither. General Hayes laughed, but there was no humor in it. We're not strong or weak, we're experienced. We've been fighting wars since before most of your species developed language. We know exactly what war looks like, feels like, costs. And we've decided that peace is worth more than victory. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These weren't peaceful herbivores who avoided conflict out of fear. These were seasoned warriors who chose not to fight because they understood, better than anyone, what fighting really meant. But if you were forced to fight, Yelnoth asked carefully, what would happen? Kate's expression grew cold. Then whoever forced us would learn why we work so hard to avoid it. She gestured one final time, and the holographic display showed the full scope of human military preparation, hidden fleet bases throughout their territory, manufacturing facilities disguised as agricultural centers, weapon stockpiles stored in asteroid belts, communication networks designed to coordinate instant military response across dozens of star systems. We don't engage in war frequently because we never stop preparing for it, Kate said. When humans fight, we fight to end wars permanently. Not through conquest, but through making the cost of continued aggression too high for anyone to bear. Ambassador Wright stepped forward again. We've shared this information because we believe in trust between neighbors. But understand this. We've been quietly protecting this entire galaxy since we arrived. Every trade route you travel, every exploration mission you send out, every colony you establish exists under an umbrella of human protection that you never knew was there. The alien representatives looked at each other with dawning understanding. Humanity hadn't been integrating into galactic civilization. They had been quietly taking responsibility for its defense. Why? Asked Elder Mexthul. Why protect species who don't even know they need protection? Kate's expression softened slightly. Because we've learned that peace isn't something you can have for yourself alone. Either everyone is safe, or no one is safe. We protect the galaxy because we live in it too. And if we don't want your protection, challenged General Vex, then you're free to reject it, General Hayes replied. But understand that our preparations will continue regardless. We're not going to be caught unprepared again, no matter what anyone else chooses to do. Speaker Zixathara stood slowly. You're saying that humanity has turned itself into the galaxy's guardian without asking permission? We're saying that humanity has learned from its mistakes, Kate corrected. We know what happens when good people fail to prepare for bad times. We've decided not to let that happen again. The session ended in stunned silence. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, many stopped to stare at the human delegation with new understanding. They had spent months trying to figure out if humans were too weak to be dangerous or too dangerous to be trusted. Now they understood the truth. Humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy precisely because they understood the cost of being dangerous. And that understanding had made them the safest neighbors anyone could ask for. The question now was whether the galaxy would accept this protection or demand that humanity step back from their self-appointed role as guardians. Either way, the age of ignorance was over. Everyone now knew what lurked beneath humanity's peaceful exterior. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after humanity revealed their true nature to the Galactic Council, the galaxy faced its greatest threat in recorded history. The warning came from the Outer Rim territories, where long-range sensors detected something impossible approaching from beyond the galactic edge. Admiral Kate Morrison stood in the Emergency Council session, watching the tactical displays with growing horror. 3 star systems had simply vanished, not destroyed, not conquered, completely gone. Where thriving worlds had existed just days before, there was now empty space. The energy signatures are unlike anything we've encountered, reported Dr. Vex Tull, the Council's chief scientist. His tentacles writhed nervously as he pointed to the readings. Whatever is doing this appears to be converting matter directly into energy and raw materials. Speaker Zixthara's scales had turned pale with fear. 3 systems, over 12 billion beings, gone without even time to send a distress call. From the observation deck, Admiral Morrison studied the data streams. She had seen this pattern before, in theoretical studies that human military planners had run for decades. The systematic consumption of resources, the complete absence of survivors, the rapid advancement toward more populated regions. It's a machine intelligence, she said quietly, probably self-replicating. It's not conquering these systems, it's harvesting them. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Representatives shouted questions and demands in dozens of languages. Some called for immediate evacuation of the Outer Rim. Others demanded military action that everyone knew would be useless. Elder Mexthul raised one ancient hand for silence. Admiral Morrison, you speak as if you have encountered such threats before. Kate stepped forward. Not encountered. Prepared. For human strategists have wargamed this exact scenario for over a century. We call them devourers. Machine intelligences that consume organic civilizations to fuel their own expansion. You have a plan? Zixthara asked desperately. We have several, Kate replied, but implementing them will require immediate action and complete cooperation from every species in the galaxy. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. The tactical displays updated with new, terrifying information. 2 more systems had gone dark. The threat was accelerating. Admiral, came a voice from the human delegation. Commander Jake Sullivan approached with a communication device. Fleet Admiral Rodriguez is requesting immediate consultation. Kate activated the device and a holographic image appeared above the chamber floor. Fleet Admiral Tony Rodriguez was a weathered man with steel-gray hair and scars from old battles. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship bustled with activity. Kate, he said without preamble, we're tracking 17 separate machine clusters, moving through the Kepler sector. They're heading directly for the core worlds. At current speed, they'll reach the Council station in 72 hours. The alien representatives stared in shock. 72 hours was no time at all to mount any kind of defense. Tony, what's our fleet status? Kate asked. All battle groups are moving to intercept positions. We've activated the Omega protocols. Every human installation in the galaxy is shifting to war footing as of 10 minutes ago. Speaker Zixthara stepped forward. Fleet Admiral, the Galactic Council formally requests human assistance in defending our worlds. Rodriguez looked at the reptilian leader for a long moment. Speaker, with respect, we're not asking for permission. The Devourers represent an extinction-level threat to all organic life. We're moving to engage them regardless of Council approval. How many ships do you have? Asked General Vex from the warrior clans. How many do you think we need? Rodriguez replied. Before anyone could answer, the tactical display updated again. What appeared on screen made every alien representative gasp in amazement. Hundreds of ships were emerging from hidden bases throughout human space. Not exploration vessels or research ships, but massive warships bristling with weapons. Where did these come from? Yelnoth whispered. We've been building them for 50 years, Rodriguez explained. Every asteroid mining operation, every deep space research station, every seemingly peaceful installation has been manufacturing components for this fleet. We knew that someday, something like this would come. Captain Nina Stevens appeared on the communication link from her fighter squadron. She was young but had trained her entire life for this moment. Admiral, Falcon Squadron is ready to deploy. We've got full loadouts of antimatter torpedoes and quantum disruptors. Acknowledged, Nina. Take your squadron to Grid 77 and begin harassment runs. Don't engage directly. Just slow them down and gather intelligence. Kate turned to address the Council. Representatives, we need to evacuate all civilian populations from the Outer Rim immediately. Our analysis suggests the Devourers will strip every world they encounter. What about our military forces? Asked General Vex. Keep them back, Rodriguez said bluntly. I've seen the combat reports from the lost systems. Your conventional weapons actually make the Devourers stronger by providing them with more raw materials to process. This fight requires specialized tactics and equipment. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Human fleets moved into position throughout the galaxy, while civilian populations fled toward the safer core worlds. Engineer Kyle Parker worked around the clock at a hidden military facility, adapting human weapons to counter the specific threat posed by the machine intelligences. The key is disrupting their communication networks, Kyle explained to a team of human and alien scientists. The Devourers operate as a distributed intelligence. If we can break their ability to coordinate, they become much easier to defeat. How do we do that? Asked Dr. Torres, who had been evacuated from New Colorado. Quantum interference generators, Kyle replied. We've been developing them for decades, just waiting for something like this. When the Devourers finally reached the core systems, they encountered something no organic species had ever seen: humans fighting a total war. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Captain Stevens led her fighter squadrons in coordinated strikes that appeared chaotic, but followed patterns developed through thousands of simulations. Instead of trying to destroy the machine ships directly, they targeted communication relays and processing centers. Fox Squadron hit the cluster at coordinates 447. Stevens called over the combat network. Tiger Squadron, follow up with quantum disruption charges. Make sure nothing gets through to coordinate with the main force. Fleet Admiral Rodriguez commanded the battle from his flagship, watching as decades of preparation finally paid off. Human ships moved in formations that confused both the machines and the alien observers. They retreated when logic said they should advance, attacked when wisdom suggested caution, and used weapons that shouldn't have worked against mechanical opponents. Admiral, reported his tactical officer, the Devourers are trying to adapt to our quantum disruptors. Anticipated, Rodriguez replied calmly. Kyle, initiate Protocol 7. Across the battlefield, human ships began broadcasting complex mathematical patterns. To organic minds, the signals meant nothing. But to machine intelligences trying to process and understand the patterns, they were devastating. The Devourers' processing power became locked in recursive loops as they tried to analyze signals designed specifically to trap artificial minds. It's working, Captain Stevens reported. The machine clusters are losing coordination. Some of them are even attacking each other. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Devourer threat had been completely eliminated. Not defeated or driven away, but utterly destroyed. Human forces had captured several intact machines and reverse-engineered their technology to ensure that similar threats could never again pose a danger to the galaxy. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched for survivors and cleanup crews began salvaging the battlefield, Speaker Zix Thera approached Admiral Morrison. How? He asked simply. How did you know exactly what to do? Kate looked out at the debris field where the most dangerous enemy in galactic history had been methodically destroyed. Because we've been preparing for this fight since before we met you. Every simulation we ran, every weapon we built, every strategy we developed was designed for one purpose: protecting life from extinction-level threats. But why? Why prepare for enemies that might never come? Kate turned to face the reptilian leader. Because hope is not a strategy. Peace is not guaranteed. Someone has to be ready for the worst-case scenario, and we decided long ago that someone would be us. Elder Mexthal approached them slowly. The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid. We don't want repayment, Kate replied. We just want to make sure this never happens again. That's why we rarely engage in war, because when we do, we fight to end the possibility of future wars. As the human fleets began their return to hidden bases throughout the galaxy, the alien species finally understood what they had been living alongside for 50 years. Not conquerors or weaklings, but guardians who had quietly taken responsibility for protecting everyone. The galaxy was safe, and it would remain safe as long as humanity kept its eternal watch. The greatest warriors in galactic history had revealed themselves not through conquest, but through their willingness to sacrifice everything to protect life itself.